Tonight, fears Nearstar is close to breaching licence conditions at the Port Pirie smelter, and a new exhibition about World War I opens in Broken Hill ahead of Remembrance Day.
This is Southern Cross News.
Good evening, Alex Sykes filling in for Abby tonight. Clean-up efforts have been ramped up at the Port Pirie smelter with lead levels at a 4-year high. The elevated levels indicate that Nearstar are operating above their limit for the quarter, with serious action being taken.
Old components of the Port Pirie lead smelter are causing headaches for Nearstar's environmental target. The 130-year-old sinter plant and blast furnace have stifled efforts to reduce lead emissions during its $600 million redevelopment. The EPA says Nearstar is taking appropriate measures to ensure the town's safety.
We're really pleased to see Nearstar taking proactive action to try and reduce the levels, which were too close to the compliance limits.
The intervention has followed an email sent to the site staff from General Manager Mark Zeborowski, where he stated, "We are at the risk of breaching our licence to operate this quarter, and unless we make a change to the way we operate or the way we think about fugitive emissions, the potential for us to breach the limit will become a fact." Jeff Brock, who spent 30 years working at the smelter, is frustrated at how Nearstar has handled their communication with the public and the media. He says the town deserves better education and transparency.
Sometimes when you don't communicate clearly with the community and the media in particular, a lot of unrest comes out in misinformation.
Part of the centre will temporarily close to ensure emissions return to safer levels. Dominic Beaton, Southern Cross News.
Port Augusta police are hunting a thief who allegedly broke into a home and assaulted the occupants. Authorities responded quickly after the male intruder fled the scene. When they arrived, they noticed the victim's car, a 2012 Mitsubishi Outlander, had been stolen. Anyone with any information about the incident should call Crime Stoppers. Police in Port Pirie are urging locals to be more vigilant with their vehicles and homes after a string of break-ins. SAPOL are also cooperating with local communities and sporting clubs through a new initiative called Operation Alliance.
Port Pirie has been the hotspot for crime lately. Cars, homes and public buildings have recently been targeted by criminals, and local police are urging the public to be on the lookout.
What we're experiencing at the moment is through the Mid-North area there's been an increase in break-ins at sporting and community clubs. Through a number of areas over the last 4 weeks.
People responsible for the break-ins are predominantly targeting cash, and police have responded through conducting community audits and providing advice under their new initiative, Operation Alliance.
And what we do ask is that the community play their part and assist all of us by ensuring that their premises are secure.
Public groups and community centres are advised to remove or secure any cash or valuables that they have on property. Sporting clubs can also place out signs which notify the public that no cash is stored on site. To avoid opportunistic theft, residents are urged to lock their doors and make sure nothing is in public view when they are away from their homes and motor vehicles.
Have everything secure, not leaving things in plain sight, where thieves will, target their property.
Dominic Beaton, Southern Cross News.
Concerns have been raised about the rise of razorfish found around the beach surrounding the Port Lincoln jetty. The razor-sharp shells have caused severe cuts to beachgoers in recent weeks, and some volunteers are preparing to remove them.
I thought, well, I've got to take some action and come down with a group of divers and also helpers, that'll be honest for it as well, and collecting as many razorfish as we can.
Extra volunteers are encouraged to help with the clean-up, getting underway tomorrow from 9 a.m. New RAA figures have highlighted just how much extra regional motorists are paying for fuel since a cost spike 6 months ago. But there is some relief ahead, with the pump price tipped to drop soon.
Filling up your tank in the last 6 months has left many motorists fuming. Now new figures show that regional drivers were some of the hardest hit by the price hike.
We've seen differences between March and October of, from 20 to nearly 30 cents difference.
South Australia's regional areas have felt the pinch. Broken Hill and Kadina are paying over 22 cents extra, Port Pirie and Port Lincoln closer to 24 cents, while Port Augusta and Whyalla motorists are paying nearly 26 cents extra for petrol.
That adds about $360 to the cost of your energy bill for your car each year, and obviously if you've got two cars in the driveway, you can double that.
Mr Ballas also says the increase has added extra financial pressures to many households.
That can really knock a hole in people's budget.
The big increase has been due to unstable political tensions in the Middle East and the rising cost of crude oil. But with the crude recently dropping 15 cents, there could be some relief ahead for anyone filling up at the Bowsers.
We could see sort of fuel around the $1.40-ish.
Garth Burley, Southern Cross News.
The people behind a New South Wales jobs initiative have met Broken Hill business leaders today. Jobs in New South Wales is a state government project aiming to deliver funding to regional businesses.
A very productive meeting.
So we try to understand really what's going on in the local community, what are the issues and how can we help.
This morning, the Board of Jobs for New South Wales met with a number of small business owners and community members to discuss funding opportunities. The importance of community consultation shining through.
If you design solutions for imaginary people, you get imaginary solutions. And by just sitting and having a 2-hour breakfast with local business owners, the board is just honing in on real examples. Some
of the talking points included tourism and health industries, as well as the commercialisation of kangaroos and goats.
We'll socialise them within the government and determine which ones we can really address. Most important, we'll come back and, say, look, this one looks good.
Jobs for New South Wales has $57 million allocated for regional areas. Startups and emerging enterprises can apply for financial support.
It was a great opportunity for a diverse group around the table to sort of put up their ideas about what can be achieved to make Broken Hill's population get bigger.
More information can be found on the Jobs for New South Wales website. Patrick Royenke, Southern Cross News.
Still to come tonight, an exhibition on the nation's shipwrecks opens in Whyalla, and Port Lincoln community groups receive vital funding from a local bank. Welcome back. Whyalla's Maritime Museum is hosting an exhibition dedicated to the nation's shipwrecks. The display features a number of historical wrecks, including an infamous one lying in our region.
Our nation's rugged oceans have made sea travel a daunting task since vessels first sailed around the continent. From the Batvia to the Sanyo Maro, 11,000 shipwrecks scatter our nation's coastline, each with a tale to tell. Whyalla residents can now learn some of these stories with an exhibition on show at the Maritime Museum.
Because it's got a lot of history that it can show about what was travelling through at those times, what things they've found off them, and where some of those most treacherous waters were that they might have come undone again.
The panel display features stories and pictures which were selected by the National Maritime Museum. Also included is a story of the sinking of the AE-2 submarine off the coast of Turkey during World War I. And there's also a local element with the story of the DG near Port Lincoln.
So she hit Donington Reef at the bow level, so she actually sunk from that point when just hitting the reef by chance. She's got some really interesting, fun dive opportunities.
The display adds to the already wide collection of artefacts from shipwrecks in the Spencer Gulf, including the Governor Gawler, which sunk in the region in 1847.
It does give you a different feel about what it must have been like when they were sailing at that time or travelling in those boats.
The exhibition runs until March, with educational opportunities available for schools. John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Port Lincoln's Otis Carter has successfully completed the New York Marathon. Otis was part of the Indigenous Marathon project. He joined 50,000 competitors around the world tackling the grueling 42-kilometre course. With a time of 5 hours and 36 minutes, he couldn't have been prouder to fly his flag at the finish line. As the weather warms up, the barbecues come out and Port Augusta residents are being reminded dry zones apply. Police say anyone with alcohol in these areas can face a fine of over $1,000.
The sun is out, the temperature is rising, and it's perfect conditions for outdoor leisure. But as Port Augusta locals head to public areas to soak up some vitamin D, they're being urged to resist the temptation to crack a cold one.
The whole town area is a dry zone. It applies to everywhere in the town area in a public place.
The laws were brought in over 20 years ago in a bid to curb public drinking and antisocial behaviour in the town. Anyone caught with open alcohol in these areas can face a fine, ranging from $150 all the way up to $1,250.
There's something that everyone really doesn't want to have.
Police are reminding locals to be aware of these restrictions throughout the hotter and thirst-inducing months.
If you want to have a drink, then do it in the privacy of your own home or in the many places you can in Port Augusta, just not in public.
Authorities say it's all about making the town a family-friendly environment.
If people are drinking in those areas, it certainly isn't conducive to family activities.
If anyone in the community sees any antisocial behaviour or public drinking, they're advised to call the police. Garth Burley, Southern Cross News.
A Port Lincoln community bank has handed out almost $400,000 in its latest round of grants. The largest cheque went to the local SES unit, which will go towards a boat lift.
A generous injection of money for community groups needing it most.
What a fantastic night. $397,000 worth of community contributions back into so many wonderful programs.
It's the fourth year the Port Lincoln Community Bank has delivered local grants, totalling $2.7 million. 19 applications were successful this year.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and some of those projects, whether it be the Lions Club for their picnic area, Brinkworth Reserve, and of course the life-saving time frames of the SES.
The largest grant of $56,000 went to the Port Lincoln SES. It's to purchase a boat lift to allow their rescue efforts to be launched straight from the water.
So what it is it's a boat pontoon that lifts the boat completely out of the water, and it can remain there on site at the berth.
Up until now, the boat lives in a shed and is launched from land. The new setup could be the difference between life and death.
If we can get out 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes ahead of time, we've got a better chance of possibly saving a life. That's what it's about.
Casey Trelaw, Southern Cross News.
An amazing collection of memorabilia documenting 3 Broken Hill boys in World War I is on display at the city's library. Historical documents, pictures and even a soldier's diary are all part of the exhibition.
From Broken Hill to the Western Front, William and Cecil Osborne, along with Cyril Gamlin, served during the Great War, fighting in some of its bloodiest battles. 100 years on, and their sacrifice has been remembered in this amazing display at the Broken Hill Library.
My grandfather left a wonderful collection of memorabilia from his time at the Western Front.
Peter Osborne is the grandson of William and has helped piece together the stories of his grandfather, Cecil and Cyril. The collection and his exhibition at the Regional Art Gallery are tributes to the courage, resilience and humanity of the men who went from the heat and dust of Broken Hill to the mud and shells of the battlefields. Mr. Osborne says it's a stark reminder of war's devastating carnage and destruction.
What's unique about it is that instead of it being an official history, it's a personal experience. People can relate their own family stories to this sort of thing.
The collection will be on display for another month. The art exhibition closes on Sunday. Patrick Ryankey, Southern Cross News.
Stay with us. After the break, we'll go round the grounds and get the weekend's cricket tips. And in the weather, it's going to be sunny this weekend. I'll have all the local weather details next. Welcome back. It's now time to see what's happening in local cricket this weekend.
Hello and welcome to round 5 of Port Pirie cricket. This round starts with Solly North taking on Props at Port Oval on Saturday. Solly North are sitting on top undefeated with Props in second place. I'm tipping Props. In the other match, WANDEARAH up against Southport at Globe Oval due to Memorial Oval not being available due to the weather earlier in the week. I'm tipping WANDEARAH.
G'day and welcome to round 5 of Port Augusta cricket. This week we see the top side South Augusta take on West Augusta. South have been on fire lately while West have struggled, so I think South are going to win this quite easy. The other match sees Quorn take on Central Stirling. Central Stirling have started off slow, but they're slowly picking up a bit of momentum. Quorn had a loss last week, but I can't see Quorn getting beaten in Quorn. So there are my 2 winners, South Augusta and Quorn.
Welcome to round 4 of WANDEARAH cricket.
Saturday sees South Wyler and Rapina face off again. Rapina coming off a good form against North last week. Nathan Van Ecken with 89 and Clay Crompton bowling really well. My tip, Rapina. Sunday sees Central Wyler and North Wyler play at Memorial Oval. Last time North Wyler won the game, but this time Scott Collison and Brad Smith are coming off unbeaten centuries. They're going to be tough to beat and they'll need Dave Miller to step up, but unfortunately I'm going to tip Central Wyler this week.
Welcome to Port Lincoln Cricket Tips. We'll kick things off with Waybacks hosting Southern Air South at Centenary Oval. Southern Air South are undefeated and being last year premiers are going to win this one comfortably. In the next game, we've got Todd River hosting Charlton at Dorwood Oval. This is a fight for second spot, but I think Todd River are going to be too strong at home. I'm tipping Todd River to win this one. In the final game, we've got Tasmans hosting Lincoln South at Ravendale Oval. Tasmans, making the grand final last year, are still searching for the first win of this season. I don't think they're going to get it. I'm tipping Lincoln South.
Interesting round of cricket in Broken Hill this weekend. Undefeated North take on Central at the Jubilee Oval. This should be a very good game, but I think at the moment North carrying too much guns. Their batting looks very formidable, and Cody Howard's having a wow of a season with the ball, having taken 12 wickets in 2 games. In the other game, West take on South at the Zinc Oval. This will be a very close game. Much will depend on whether Max Everest plays for West. If he doesn't play, I think the Southerners can get up for a win here. But if Max plays, I think he could be the difference between the two sides.
And to the weather now, a fine weekend ahead with a cloudy start to next week. It's been mostly fine across the Gulf today. 29 was the top for Port Augusta. Whyalla and Port Pirie both reached 27 degrees, and it was a sunny 23 in Port Lincoln. On the satellite, patchy cloud clearing the southeast as an unstable westerly airstream weakens. High jet stream cloud in the west is keeping us dry. Looking at the waters tomorrow, southwesterly to southeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas at 1 metre. The sun will rise at 6:12 in the morning with a 7:51 sunset. A sunny day expected over most parts tomorrow. 31 the top for Port Augusta and Woodner, Broken Hill 28, Whyalla, Port Pirie, Cleve and Kadina all looking at 27. Looking further ahead, warming up a bit on Sunday, partly cloudy over most parts. Possible showers for Port Lincoln on Monday. A cloudy start to the week for Cleve and Woodner, but fine on Tuesday. 31 the top for Whyalla and Kadina on Sunday. Port Augusta partly cloudy with more cloud for Monday. And 33 for Port Pirie, steading into next week. A fine look ahead for Clare, still with that a bit of cloud on Monday. And a fine few days ahead for Broken Hill. And that's the local news this Friday. Thanks for your company. I'll have an update later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.